Welcome to the High Vibe Show, Livin the High Vibe Life with me, your host, Elisa V. And together with my guests, experts in the art of living in a state of high vibration, we have got an amazing show for you today. My passion is to educate and inspire you to raise your frequency to a high vibrational state. Whether you're an awakened soul to the power of your own consciousness as a light being, or you're new to this spiritual path of expansion and growth, which is made possible through vibrating at a high level, you are in the right place. So stay here to experience fun frequency upgrades now, so you can manifest all you want and help to raise the collective vibration of our wonderful world. Let's hit the restart button and high vibe it together. The High Vibe Show starts now. Hello, everyone, and happy Monday. I love having my show on Monday. Believe it or not, it's my favorite day of the week. You could always start over. I want to welcome you today to the High Vibe Show. I'm your host, the Queen of High Vibe, Elisa V, and you're in the right place if you're looking for ways to live a more fulfilling life and manifest your desires into your reality. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Pat. I am so thrilled, and together we are going to be launching a new 10-part series entitled Secrets to High Vibe Wellness. And on today's show, we will be launching this series with Discovering the Frequency Secrets to Wellness. Dr. Pat, how are you?
Well, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here because this is one of the most pressing conversations. And I have to tell you, I love what you're doing about this. And I love what you're about to create and share, because we need to help people get from where they are to find the solutions they need to be able to thrive and live in the world.
Yes. And here's the thing. We all could benefit from hitting the restart button in our mindset in order to bring balance to all dimensions of our lives, so we can make changes necessary to live in a high vibe state, right? In all of these areas. So creating this balance is something that I'm very passionate about sharing with people, because it enables us all to truly manifest all that we want and create a life of fulfillment. But so many people are just not living their best life, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about this for a minute from your perspective, because we're talking about something you're really passionate about. And usually when two of us show up and we're passionate about something, it's because we live something, right?
Yeah.
We usually are experiencing something in life where we're saying, who's talking about high vibe this or high vibe that? And what you're bringing forth is really to focus, really to put a lens, a very, very sharp focus on something very specific as we move forward, something that is so seriously needed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think that, over the weekend, I was like so excited. There's so many things that I want to talk about today. I have like all my notes, because I don't want anything to slip through the cracks. But the key is really, and what I hope that we can accomplish today for our viewers and listeners, is to give them sort of a familiarity of what areas are in their lives that they need to kind of be looking at to figure out if they're living in that high vibe state, and also how to determine whether they are or not, right? Because there's certain techniques, certain bits of information that can actually help them to sort of jumpstart. And if they find that they're not where they want to be, or they don't feel as good as they want to in any area or all areas, there's ways that they can start that process and to start feeling better and engage with more wellness.
So, let's talk about this, because we're talking about the secrets of high vibe wellness. And I think it's important for us to really understand, everybody listening, until you get ill, like I got ill in 2004, and I had to work my way through this over a 10-year period, you don't realize that there are secrets. And why do we call them secrets? It's because they are little nuggets that are ways for us to heal ourselves. Not that I'm saying we have to go outside of the realm of the medical profession, But if you go back in time before there were a medical profession, then what did we learn from that? What are the secrets that can carry forward into this digital AI world now?
Yeah. And you spoke of physical wellness, right? And how it affected you. And I can really speak to this idea of financial wellness because after my divorce, I had a really cushy life for a while. My whole life changed. And what I didn't realize at the time is that this overwhelming state of lack had taken over everything. I couldn't even see the good stuff that I had abundance in. And I didn't even know that I was in this state. I was just constantly afraid. So that brought my whole existence out of balance because anything I was trying to do to bring financial abundance in, I was sort of counterintuitive to it because my thoughts weren't there. So we're gonna get into just how every single area of our life can, you could be vibing high in one area, right? Like thank goodness my physical health was good during that period, but my financial wellness emotionally and vibrationally was not. And so many other areas that I wasn't where I needed to be. So I think, I have a couple of questions I thought we could kind of go after and talk about to sort of lead the conversation. But I know that you, Dr. Pat, wanted to bring up some of the statistics about wellness and
Well,
how they relate to what we're talking about.
yeah, what I want to do is say why. Why wellness now? And I have to tell you, it's such an important conversation to really have right now that we've shifted our priorities on which channels we were going to launch in what order. Clearly, the women's channel is coming out of the gate, but for sure, the health and wellness channel has now bumped itself up to the top. Why? Well, we're seeing it. A lot of focus right now is on the Olympics. We're watching, we're listening to Simone Biles talk about what she's doing, what she had to go through mentally. We're hearing athletes that talk about their illnesses and what they overcome. Noah Lyles yesterday just won the gold in the 100-meter. And nobody knows that this is a guy that struggled for a lot of years with severe asthma. And so right now, we have to talk about wellness and what the industry looks like first. Do you think for a minute that an industry would be what's the number you read? $1.8 trillion industry if there wasn't things for us to learn about it? There wouldn't be, would there?
Right, right. And it seems like and I don't want to ignore the fact that tied to this idea of wellness, there's a lot of it also has to do with sort of this growing connection to spirituality because many
Oh,
people are starting to realize that the connection in how we think and where our energy is and how we feel like everything kind of comes together. So today, according to a survey that was put out, 58% of US respondents said that they're prioritizing wellness more now than they did even a year ago. And if we look generationally, millennials and Gen G consumers are spending more on health and wellness than older consumers. So that tells you that there's a growing trend and a inner wisdom, that some of these younger generations are starting to connect, that if they're not connected to their wellness, it's going to affect the rest of the way they live in the rest of their lives.
well, you bringing up a really good point. I think let's talk about what we mean by wellness. This vibe wellness. And, one of the things I think we have a chart, Emily, to put up on the screen to talk about the dimensions of wellness, because a lot of times you're right. Wellness, we think I'm not sick, right? We're
Right.
like, I'm like, look at my muscles. I feel good, right? However, when you take a look at these areas and the charts up on here, right? Let's just go through it for people. Let's tell people the areas that you're going to address because it's not just wellness in our physical body, but it's wellness in the different areas of our life that help us just absolutely thrive, that we flourish. But when one of these we're not, it could bring the whole wheel down. Tell us what some of these areas are.
Okay, so what we want to look at is, and I'll just kind of give everybody just a little backstory to this. So what Dr. Pat is talking about is this wellness wheel, and it's basically a tool for self exploration, and it's promotes the idea of well-being across all areas of our lives. And it was originally first developed by Dr. Bill Hetler. Started out with about 6 areas or 6 dimensions. And today we've kind of grown where we've got about 8 categories. So this would include physical wellness, emotional wellness, intellectual wellness, spiritual wellness, environmental wellness, social wellness, occupational, and financial wellness. And these are all separate, right? We'd all agree, yet they're very interconnected categories that really contribute to having a balanced life. And one of my mottos, in my own private practice, coaching practice, is, high vibe, high thrive. You can't be thriving high unless you're in a high vibe. So Dr. Pat, let's kind of take a look at this and take a little deeper dive into this.
Yeah, I mean, this is a global market, but what is really the kick of it? Why is this growing at 5 to 10% per year in just the United States alone? And so, do we think we're more well now than we were 10 years ago? Clearly, the numbers say it. But yet, what's missing is finding solutions for yourself that you can relate to. See, that's the difference in what we're doing here and what you're going to be doing moving forward, right? It's how do you tap into that level of wellness that fits for you? And I know what you're going to be doing on the show, and especially when we hit the restart button, is we're going to take a look, where are you now in each of these and where do you want to go? So maybe for you, you're strong like ox, right? Maybe that's not the thing. However, you have no social life whatsoever. You don't even know how to have fun. And you're thinking, well, in the world, we're not supposed to have fun. No, we're supposed to have fun and recreation. And you brought up something else. Spiritual wellness right now. That's the kicker, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
the thing we look at. Are we willing to take a look at where we are? And we say spiritual wellness, which doesn't box us in here. So I want to be
No.
clear,
No,
right?
we're not talking religion. We're not talking necessarily belief systems. What we're talking about is that and this is something I'm very passionate about, we live in this body, right? We live in this physical body, but we have spirit in us, and we have our consciousness and all this that makes up what we can't see, and it comes down to energy, like I always talk about, this vibrational energy and frequency. And so when we examine the wellness and the wellness wheel, that
Yeah,
spirituality part of us is very powerful and has a very big effect on sort of the rest of the seven, the seven
yeah,
dimensions.
yeah,
Um, and I think that more people, right, they call this the age of the Great Awakening, more
yeah,
people are getting more and more in touch with how they interrelate. And the more
yeah,
spiritually connected you are to yourself, the more you have greater control over not only your exterior life, but your health
yeah,
and your physical health and what you think. And so we're going to take this, like, each week, we're going to take a look at each one of these dimensions of the wellness wheel. And we're going to have, experts in this area that are going to speak to this and have a conversation about, how to expand our thinking and how to engage in different techniques and ways to improve it.
yeah. I've talked about this on air a lot. I've mentioned a couple of things I use, but let's just break it down for a little bit. And just this is what gets us really excited. Both you were very excited about this, right? We're trying to stay calm right now.
Yes.
We're trying to try to stay calm, but I don't want to stay calm. I want to just say to you, look, 82% of United States consumers consider wellness a top or important priority. 73% in the United Kingdom and 87% in China. This is what we're saying. But what is the conversation? So whether you're millennial, Gen Z, otherwise, right? The information is out right now. So when you look at this, the top of this tells you where we are and how vulnerable we are. The top of the list is the external body, the appearance. How do I look? I mean, that's like through the roof. The second thing is health, right up there. My health, I'm worried about my health. Then fitness, then nutrition. But when you go down after appearance and health, it drops like in half, but it's still up there. Fitness, nutrition, sleep, and mindfulness. So even though folks are saying to themselves, I think these things are like super duper important, they don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
It's like, I think this is important, but where do I go? What do I do next? I mean, don't you find that that is sort of the missing key? That's the thing that enables us to say, we've got to share some information. Isn't that why you're doing the series?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we don't, we're coming across like very high vibe, right? Which is great. That's what the show's about. But we get it, right? Life happens, shit happens. Maybe you woke up achy. Perhaps your significant relationship is not where you want it to be, or it's become toxic or just unhealthy, or maybe you're just unhappy in your job. So what we want to do, and so there's no criticism there, right? Because we all deal with this in life. We're human. But here's the key. The first step to gain awareness of where you are is by examining each dimension. So, it becomes very overwhelming to just say, oh, I want to be happy. I want everything good. Well, maybe because we need to take it very slow and in, small bites. I always say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. We take each aspect and we want to help you to examine where are you in that area, and some areas you're going to say, hey, I'm thriving, like I'm doing great. But other areas you're going to say, you know what, I need some fun, meaning frequency upgrades now. And that's where we're going to help you to talk about how you can get your vibration and get this area or dimension of your life in a higher frequency. Dr. Pat, should we talk a little bit about I think it would be really helpful to talk about the Hawkins scale.
Well, let's talk about it because part of what we're going to cover is this. So let's just be very clear. For example, women's health showed up in the McKinsey report that came out. It showed up that women have been underserved and underfunded. I mean, hello, right? But then it
Mhm.
talks about what they're looking for, what they need, what's at the top of their list. And the bottom line is, what does that mean? If you take Hawkins scale and you look at it and you take that scale and you put it in each one of the spokes of the wellness wheel, how you doing? Right?
Mhm.
Let's pick one. You picked money before. Let's take a couple of the benchmarks on the Hawkins scale. How are you feeling about it? Are you depressed? Are you angry? Are you joyful? Are you loving in your money situation? Where are you? And and I know, right? That it's one thing to show up in the material world, but what eats away at people is our emotional state, our frequency. Isn't that what you're doing now to address this? You're going to take both what's on the paper, but what's in the heart too.
Yes, and just for any of our viewers who aren't familiar with the Hawkins scale, I'll just tell you a little bit, just so you know. So Dr. David Hawkins and the Institute of Noetic Sciences demonstrated the existence of this energy field, okay, that's generated by emotions. And so what he did, it's also referred to as the consciousness field. And what he did was he put together a scale from high to low and explained where that resonated in terms of hertz, because that's how frequency is measured. And he took things like things that resonated on a higher vibrating frequency, like things like love and joy and gratitude and ecstasy, peace, enlightenment, right? And we'd all pretty much agree when we feel those things, it feels great and there's a lot of energy there. But then on the other side are those, what we would call those constricted or lower vibrations, things like shame, guilt, apathy, fear, anger, and pride. So in looking at that, as Dr. Pat just said, in terms of where is that and where do you fit, based on each of those different dimensions of the wellness wheel. So
Oh,
we're sort of combining all this, and that's the basis of how you start to discover, some of the frequency secrets and what we're going to be
yeah.
using going forward throughout this series.
Yeah, it's one thing to sit here and talk about, oh, I feel like great about myself. I feel so good about, oh my God, I'm just doing so. And then you look in the mirror before you walk out of the house and you say, where did those 10 pounds come from? And all of a sudden your emotional body like shrinks down and you get in your car and you keep looking in the mirror. Then you're like, oh, my pants. This is what we're doing. On the surface, we want to be out there and just suck it up and look great. But on the other hand, that scale, that Hawkins scale, by the way, that Hawkins scale was presented in his book, Power versus Force.
Yes.
Very powerful book.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
what
I
we're
always love to
doing,
recommend reading.
oh,
That's a great read for anyone who's interested and want to take a little bit more of a dive.
yeah,
And just on the subject of when it comes to high vibration, I would also encourage you to start hitting the restart button. You could go to my website and you can download my 7-point blueprint for living a high vibe life and see how you can bring some high vibe practices into your daily life, just simple ways. So that's at hittingtherestartbutton.com. And that's just a small way that you could start to dip your toe into, becoming aware and doing small things to start to
yeah.
raise your vibration.
Yeah. One of the things that I know we're going to talk about, one of the secrets is going to be gut health. What do I mean by gut health? So when I say gut health, people are like, what is she talking about? So we're going to help you understand what it is. But here's the thing to know about it. The science is now out. It's gut health is not just about the gut or the stomach. The gut affects everything.
Everything.
1/3 of US consumers, half Chinese consumers say they wish there were more products in the market to support gut health. There's a reason they're not, because we don't understand it well enough. We don't understand that we can take care of gut health by some of the secrets we're going to
It's
share,
so
right?
important. In fact, it's funny because this morning, I was talking to my daughter and we were looking at her skin and didn't look as good as it has been. And I said, we need to deal with your gut. You need to take some probiotics. Because the gut has tremendous effect on our skin. But if we look at it from the spiritual and the intellectual standpoint, right now we take the gut, that was the first brain. So when we use expressions like, what's your gut feeling? Or
Oh,
follow your gut, it's because that is a part of us that is so intuitive, and the more we can follow that, that helps us in the
yeah,
other areas and the other dimensions, like intellectual wellness and emotional wellness and spiritual wellness. So I think gut health and focusing on the gut is just so key, and a lot of our wellness comes from, the way our gut is operating.
yeah. And this is what we're launching today. We're having a conversation about it, but tell people about what they can expect in this series that's coming. I think that's important for folks and how they can stay on top of this.
Yeah, so we're so excited because we invite you to, so next week we're going to have sort of the next step to what we're talking about today, right? This is all about discovery. And next show, I shouldn't say next week, next show on the 19th is when we're going to be looking at how to actually activate, this frequency. But beyond that, we're going to go through each dimension of the wellness wheel. And that is where we're going to take a very deep dive into how. Now we've kind of set forth a lot of, what it means and how you start to activate. But then what are some of these solutions? What are some of these ways, like Dr. Pat was saying about gut health? What are some of the ways we can improve our gut health? What are some of the ways we can raise our vibration financially? And when it comes to money, and what about when it comes to our relationships or the way we interact with the environment in our world? Is our environment what it needs to be? And I'm not just talking ecology and how we treat the earth. That's part of it, but it's also how do we interact with our working environment, with within our home, and of course with the environment at large. Are we connecting with nature? Are we grounding ourselves? Are we walking barefoot? Are we hugging trees? All that. So we're going to take a deep dive with some really special people who are experts in this area, and hopefully you will come out of this after this 10-part series feeling so much more confident and empowered and have some of the tools to be able to actually raise your vibration.
Yeah, I love it. I love what you're doing because there's not a model out there that I've been able to put my hands on that takes a look at, let's just call it the wellness wheel. There are different versions of it, but superimposes Hawkins scale in
Yeah.
each spoke and then overall. That is going to be a fun quiz for you all to take when that comes out, right?
Yeah. And we're going to try to make this fun because it should be. It should be enjoyable. So just to everyone here today, I want to thank you, for being here. And Dr. Pat, this is just so exciting and such an honor for us to be working together on this. My private holistic coaching is all about how to vibe high and thrive high. And in order to hit the restart button, we really need to be the architect of our life. So please feel free to reach out to me. Go to my website, set up a strategy call. Let's find out more. Let me tell you more about my program. And don't forget to tune in next time when we are going to be talking about how to activate secrets of frequency wellness. And we're going to have a special guest. Is that right, Dr. Pat?
That's exactly right. We're so excited about this.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Hey, thanks for being my guest and being here and sharing this wonderful topic. And remember, the way to high vibe is to live in the vibrations of love, abundance, and gratitude. Have a great day. You've been listening to The High Vibe Show, living the high vibe life. I'm your host, Elisa V, the Queen of High Vibe. Join us every first and third Monday of the month at 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio. This is the place to come for you to have loads of fun, frequency upgrades now, and have great guests to hear all about raising your frequency. For more information, visit hittingtherestartbutton.com. See you next time.